welcome to TST with Jake. That is the Sports Talk with Jake for this episode 3 on today, January 21st, 2021. It has been a while, folks. If you've watched my recent video, I explain why everything's been going on. But we are back here today with another podcast because it's the time of the year again. It's NFL playoff time, and it has gotten off to I don't know how to really, a disappointing start, especially with all the matchups that we were expecting. 4 out of the 6 games were blowouts. And I think you can kind of look and go, okay, yeah, that's expected because the right teams won those games. Just didn't really make for some of the most entertaining football. But we're going to talk through some of that right now. We're going to go through the wrap-up of the wildcard weekend, the super wildcard weekend, as it has been dubbed, because we had a game on Monday, which was also boring. We're going to start with Saturday, work our way up to Monday, kind of go through some of these games. First game off was the Bengals and Raiders. The Bengals actually won 26-19. This is their first playoff game in over 30 years, I believe, that they have won. I'm very happy for them. They deserve it, especially they've been cursed in the playoffs. We all remember that team, that defense that was really, really good in 2014, led by Andy Dalton, and they just could not get the job done. They collapsed in the fourth quarter, and I'm really happy for this team. I think the Bengals are a sneaky pick here. I think I could see them going to the AFC Championship game. But I just think that they are a very solid team all around. That offense is clicking, especially when Joe Burrow is feeding Jamar Chase. That connection is as good as ever. It's so exciting watching those two. And even when Jamar Chase isn't there, he's still got 2 really good receivers in T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd. I think this team is really sneaky, and they showed it on Saturday against the Raiders. And the Raiders, we got to give them credit where credit is due. No one expected them to be in the playoffs to begin with. They put up a fight. Derek Carr tried his best against all the penalties. Ultimately, they just couldn't get the job done. But I think we got to give the Raiders some applause for what they've been able to do this season. I think that's coming back from especially a lot of the stuff they've had to go through. Whether it's Henry Ruggs or it's John Gruden or it's there's been 2 other. It has been a rough season for the Raiders, and I think to make playoffs alone is especially commendable. And yeah, it didn't go the way they were hoping they were going, but I still give them credit. And I think that this team, especially making playoffs this year, could have some shots in the future if they just fix a little bit of defense, try to work on their penalties issues. I think that this team could be exciting in the future to watch, and I like Derek Carr as a quarterback. I don't think that he sucks like a lot of people do for some reason. I think he's a very good quarterback, and he deserves a lot of respect, but the Bengals were just on tonight and won 26-19. Next game up, oh boy, if you've been following me, you know that I am a Patriots fan, so this game is a little bit of sour taste in my mouth. The Bills did beat the Patriots 47-17. Yeah, that is not a score that I was hoping for. I'm going to try to stay as less salty as possible because I have a lot of mixed emotions from this game. I was expecting the Patriots to win for some reason, and you might sit back and laugh and go, why would you do that? I don't count out Bill Belichick. And I thought that they were going to have some defensive scheme to stop Josh Allen, which they have done before prior to this year. Josh Allen looked unstoppable. This is by far the best game he's ever played in his life. He had 8 drives, and they had 8 touchdowns. They did not punt once. That is the first team in NFL history to not punt, not kick a field goal, ever. The only thing that they did was kneel out with Trubisky. And to end the game. And Josh Allen was incredible. He was 21 of 25, 300 yards, 5 touchdowns. And I've been critical of Josh Allen in the past before. I don't think I can anymore. He still has his blunders occasionally. He still has his faults, but he was totally on. He was feeding off of that crowd. That crowd was electric, and they were the better team. The Patriots looked really slow to start off the game. The defense is just something that everyone is saying. A Bill Belichick defense in the playoffs is hard to beat. This is not looking like the defense that I knew throughout the season. And yeah, you could say that some of their stats have been probably padded by bad teams like the Jaguars and the Jets and Carolina. It's disappointing to see the Patriots exceed expectations and to go out like this on their back. There's a lot of stuff that they have to address in the offseason, but a lot of people also have to realize that this is still a rebuilding team. They overly exceeded expectations with a rookie quarterback, and I think that that's something that can't be strained away from, is the fact that they did all this with Mac Jones. And I've seen a lot of people trying to give Mac a lot of flack for that game. I don't really get it, because what is Max supposed to do when your defense can't stop a single thing? If you're telling me that you're going to have 8 drives and score on every single drive, that can't be the fault of the offense. Yeah, the offense was not very good. Kendrick Bourne and Mac Jones were really the only two that did anything. And I think that there's just got to be some addressing in the offseason. They've got to figure out this defense, this rush defense. They made Devin Singletary look like Derrick Henry at points. He was averaging like 5 yards a carry, 2 touchdowns, and that's just not normal for Devin Singletary. I don't think he's been the best, but recently he's been coming on a bit more for the Bills, so I have to give credit where credit's due. But ultimately, just a very disappointing end to the season for the Patriots. I'm not ready to write this team off yet, because they're still a very solid team. I think next year, with a little bit of retooling, there's obviously a lot of free agents that they got to worry about. J.C. Jackson is a free agent. I think that they will put a tender on him, franchise tag him. We'll see. We'll see what happens with this team. Ultimately, a very disappointing end to their season, but the Bills exercised that demon that is the Patriots, and rightfully so. They were the better team. They did well. Good job, Bills. Good job, Bills fans. Next game, Sunday nights, Bucs and Eagles. I don't really want to talk about this game that much, because there really isn't much to talk about. The Buccaneers did what the Buccaneers expected to do. They came in and they killed the Eagles. The Eagles are, again, another team that kind of exceeded expectations this year, especially after their slow start, after they started to learn that they could run the ball. But then there's a lot of questions about the teams that they have beaten before. They have not beaten a single team over in the playoffs with a playoff record, a winning record. They lost every single game of that, and they won games against teams. So yeah, there's some questions about should they been there, should they not been there. But I don't think anyone realistically expected the Eagles to win this game, especially Tom Brady. You're not going to out-bet Tom Brady in the playoffs. They looked good, especially with their minimal offense. Well, minimal. They still have Mike Evans and Rob Gronkowski, but you know what I mean. There's some questions with injuries with the Bucs in the future. Next week, we'll see what happens there if Marpet is healthy, and Wirfs especially. That is a big issue. If he is out for that game, that raises a lot of red flags for this team. But don't count out Tom Brady in the playoffs. Bruce Arians can punch his players all he wants. They still win 31-15. Now, the game of the week was the Niners and Cowboys, where the Niners upset the Cowboys 23-17. I did pick the Niners to win this game. God, I didn't think it would happen like this. The Niners were up a massive lead going into the fourth quarter, and then Kyle Shanahan decided to not throw the ball. Or to not pass, sorry. That's the complete opposite of what he did. He threw the ball. He decided to keep the ball thrown instead of running the ball. And I was getting massive Super Bowl flashbacks again. As soon as Garoppolo threw that pick, I went, uh-oh, here we go. And the Cowboys stormed back after 3 quarters of them being absolutely terrible. And the Cowboys really should have won this game when you look at that fourth quarter. They were gifted a win. Absolutely gifted a win. They didn't deserve it. They did not deserve it. This team shot themselves in the foot over and over and over and over again. They had 14 penalties. That is a Cowboys franchise record of penalties in a game. It was honestly rough to watch at times. Dak Prescott did not play good at all until the fourth quarter when he came on. And that is a massive issue with this team, and we've seen it time and time again this year, is that this team, when they are rolled on their back, will either die until the fourth quarter and then they start to come back and pull off a win, or they just fold completely. And that is what happened with this team. They just shot themselves in the foot over and over again. They put themselves in a position to win the game, and they couldn't do it because that is what they are this year. And I think a lot of people that aren't Cowboys fans kind of saw a bit of this, but I don't think in the way that they are. And a lot of this issues comes down to undisciplined and Mike McCarthy. The way he has that team, there is no chance in a playoff game that you should be having 14 penalties. It's completely unacceptable, and you can't blame the referees, especially on that QB draw where they're complaining about the fact that the ref was in position, blah, 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 blah. You can't blame the refs at that point because you killed yourself with 14 penalties and killing the whole. And the prime example for this is when you have a 3rd and 2 and you have 2 offsides in a row. And you push it back like that. That's unacceptable. And to hear Dak Prescott's post-game comments talking about how he condoned the fans throwing stuff at the referees is really just disrespectful. It's not even the right way. It's upsetting if you're a Cowboys fan to hear your franchise quarterback saying that and not taking any blame whatsoever. It's so easy for you just to go, yeah, this is on us. We killed ourselves. That is what any normal quarterback does. You can't blame the refs for that. And to hear Dak Prescott condone that is disrespectful and really it's just stupid in my eyes, and I don't understand it. And Mike McCarthy also did the same thing, not condoning it to the sense, but he just didn't blame themselves. And it's just, you can't blame the referees. And there is a time and a place where refs have been legitimately bad this season. Yes, they have been probably the worst I've seen in a long time, but I can't go blaming that team. And I think that for Cowboys, this is a real shot in the foot when Jerry Jones is the only one to tell your team, or to tell reporters that, yeah, it's on the team. That is a massive issue because your leader and your coach are both not saying it, but your owner is saying it. So I don't know. I think that the future of the Cowboys is going to be really interesting. There was reports that Mike McCarthy will be coming back. We'll see what happens there. I don't know if Dak is it. When it comes to big games, Dak cannot get it done. So we'll see what happens with that team. I think it's really interesting that this is the direction that this team is going. We'll see what happens. Next game up, Chiefs and Steelers. Again, another game that we are not going to really be talking about. There is some people saying that the Steelers, Ben Roethlisberger's comments about, yeah, we weren't going to be here, but a team that has nothing to lose is a dangerous team. And they got killed anyways, 42-14. It was Ben Roethlisberger's retirement party. And cheers to you, Ben Roethlisberger. You stayed way too long. This is way past your prime. And yeah, credit to the Steelers team for making playoffs somehow. They got steamrolled, and that was expected. Next game up, the final game of Wildcard Weekend on a Monday, Rams Cardinals. And a lot of people were excited for this game because there's a lot of interesting questions for there. There was a first for Kyler Murray, his first playoff game in 3 seasons. Odell's second ever, which is kind of nuts to think about. And Stafford, can he get the job done? They did. 34-11, was the final score of this game. Stafford and Odell silenced the haters. They got the job done. Stafford played a very conservative game, which I think was good because it kind of helped to get those playoff nerves out of the way. And we've seen in the last couple weeks Stafford kind of going out there and taking shots down the field and throwing interceptions and just looking really off. And I think that helped because they just settled in, ran a really smart style game. With that 1-2 back of Sony Michel and Cam Akers. Cam Akers, we don't talk enough about how he's come back from a torn Achilles and put up 95 yards in a playoff game. That is impressive. Buda Baker prayers up to him also. But the real thing, as much as I'm happy for Stafford and this team actually going on, we got to talk about the Cardinals here because this is the second season in a row that this team has started off so well and fallen completely flat on their face. And this time they made the playoffs. Last year they didn't make playoffs. And yeah, you can say they don't have DeAndre Hopkins, but this comes down to 2 things. Cliff Kingsbury, who was in the Coach of the Year conversation earlier in the season, clearly was wrong about that, and I don't think Cliff is it as a coach. And we saw the same thing happen in college too with Cliff. His team start off really well and just fall flat on their face. But Kyler Murray was not good at all this game. He threw one of the worst picks I've ever seen in my life, right in their own 5-yard line for a pick 6. Terrible game by Kyler. He looked overwhelmed the whole time. He had 137 yards and 2 picks. Probably the worst performance of a quarterback of the weekends. And we did see a lot of bad quarterback play. When are we going to have the conversation that Kyler Murray might not be the quarterback that the Cardinals hope that he is? He started off, again, kind of like the same thing. He starts off a season red hot MVP form and then just falls. And he looked overwhelmed the whole game. And I don't know how much longer the Cardinals can do this because when DeAndre Hopkins isn't there to make those ridiculous catches, this team is stagnant. This team doesn't know what they're doing. And inexperience shows, and it did show on Monday night. A very disappointing outlook for the Cardinals this season. Even J.J. Watt said that this season was not a disaster. He just said that this was a disappointment all the way around because that's what it was. They were looked as Super Bowl contenders from the start of the season and fell flat on their face. So we'll see what happens with the Cardinals in the future. The Rams got their playoff win. Stafford finally won in the playoffs. Good for him. I'm happy for him. And now we look on to this week's divisional matchups. I'm really excited for this week. I think that there's a lot of exciting matchups here. We're going to start off first with the first game, which is Bengals-Titans, which I think can be a sneaky pick for a game of the week. These are just 2 fun teams, 2 teams that you don't really expect in playoffs to be going at it, jawing at each other. I'm excited. The return of the king, Derrick Henry, is back. I think that is a huge dark horse for this Titans team. That if the Titans go to the Super Bowl, it'll be on the back of Derrick Henry because this Titans team, yes, they have continued to win without Derrick Henry, but he is the legitimate back of this team. He is he carries this team, and they win on when Derrick Henry is on. So I think that this is going to be a really interesting style of matchups here. Ultimately, it comes down to, can Joe Burrow keep up with this team? And I think he can, but I do have the Titans winning here. That is my official prediction. I just think that Derrick Henry coming back is going to give a huge edge to this team and allow the Titans to go back to doing what they do best, which is pounding the rock, throwing out to A.J. Brown and Julio Jones. And they're healthier. They're getting healthier. I think this is the team that's going to be going to the AFC Championship game. Ultimately, I don't think it's as important because I think it's going to come down to another matchup in the future. However, that is my prediction for that matchup. The next one is Packers and Niners, which I'm extremely excited about. I love every time the Packers and Niners meet up and regular season playoffs. This is the second time in 3 years that they are meeting up in the playoffs. Of course, the Niners won the last matchup in the NFC Championship game where they blew them out. They meet again. They met earlier this year on Sunday Night Football when Rodgers had that 47-second drive with no timeouts, and we all know how that ended with the Packers winning. Another interesting style of matchups here. These two teams know each other so well. I think the Packers win here. I don't think the Packers are losing, especially after the year they've had. I think this is a team to go to the Super Bowl. The question is, can they? Because like I said, the Niners are a dark horse pick. And with that, I would not be surprised if the Niners end up winning this game. I think if they pound that rock, and if they keep pounding the rock, Shanahan, stop abandoning your style of play. It could pose problems for this team. I just think ultimately Rodgers is too good this season, and he has a chip on his shoulder like we've known. I don't think they're losing this game. So I got Packers here. Next matchup is Rams and Buccaneers. Again, another interesting matchup this year. These are kind of the two teams that everyone expected to be here come playoff times and kind of expected to see each other in the playoffs. And I think this is where I got to go with the Buccaneers again. I don't want to outbet Tom Brady. How many times have people said, yeah, Tom Brady in the playoffs, yeah, they're not going to win this one, and then they end up winning? I think the Rams, as good of a team as they are and as stacked as they are on all three fronts, I just think that I'm not going to outbet Tom Brady, and I think that Stafford's going to have to try to play a bit less conservative this game to win and to outduel Tom Brady. Yes, the Rams did win in the regular season, but how many times have we seen a team beat the Buccaneers or Tom Brady in a regular season and end up losing in the playoffs? So I'm going to go with the Bucs here. I would not be surprised to see Rams win, but I think the Bucs are a pretty good pick here. And obviously the big one, well, they're all big, but this is to me, this feels like the AFC Championship game. It is a rematch of last year's AFC Championship game. The Bills and the Chiefs. Obviously, last year the Chiefs won and did lose their two offensive linemen on the way, which did not help in the Super Bowl with Mahomes running for his life. And a lot of people are ready to crown the Bills as this year's winner of this to make the Super Bowl. I think the winner of this game goes to the Super Bowl. Like I mentioned, I think the Titans, with my prediction with the Titans winning, could put up a fight in the AFC Championship game. I don't know. These are the two front-loaded teams in the AFC. They are the most stacked teams on offense. And it comes down to really experience in my eyes. I'm not ready to give the Bills it yet. A lot of people are, not me. And you could say, oh, you're a Patriots fan. You just watched them get blown out. You're salty. No, I don't think that's it. I just think that for the same reasons as Brady, I'm not ready to count out Mahomes in the playoffs. And how many times did we discredit this team throughout the whole season when they started off on their poor start? And yeah, they played early in the year and the Bills beat them. It was a blowout. That was a completely different Chiefs team. Now this is a lot smarter of a team. And really that seems so stupid saying because they've been to back-to-back Super Bowls. I think they win again here. I think the Chiefs are going to go in and win. I don't think it's going to be a blowout like last year's AFC Championship game. I think it's going to be a lot closer. Possibly could come down to the last drive. But that is my prediction. So I got the Chiefs, the Bucs, the Packers, and the Titans all going through. But don't be surprised if the Niners pull up an upset. And don't be surprised if the Rams do either. Those are my picks for this weekend's game. I'm going to briefly be talking about the NBA here because I kind of wanted to front load this on NFL, but I kind of have to talk about what's going on in the NBA right now with the All-Star voting, because All-Star voting has had its third returns for fan voting, and this has been an issue for the last couple years ever since they let the fans start voting. Oh my God, I don't understand. I don't understand some of these picks. And yes, you can say that the fans just pick their guys, but some of these picks, let's just go over some of these returns. We've got Derrick Rose in 8th place for guards, which is actually a lot. It's a lot lower than it used to be. He was pretty high before. Kyrie Irving, 6. Why is he on this list? With not even that, with 800,000 votes, he should not be on this list, especially when he's playing half games and he didn't start playing until last month and he's only playing away. No, get Kyrie off this list. He over Fred VanVleet and Darius Garland is a joke. I don't it baffles me looking at some of these names on here. I'm just reading. I actually haven't looked at the third return, so I'm still shocked to see these many people. Klay Thompson in 4th place with over 1 million votes, over Devin Booker, over Chris Paul, over Anthony Edwards, who's having a great season. No. Other one. No, Russell Westbrook in 6th place. That guy got benched a game ago. You're going to let that guy go in the All-Star game? I don't know about that. LaMarcus Aldridge at 10. Yeah, what year is it? It's 2022? Yeah, no, it's not 2014. Let's get him off that list. Bam Adebayo has been injured the whole season. Why is he on this list? Pascal Siakam, though, I will give credit. Siakam has had a bounce-back year. He is back to his MVP. Whoa, slow down. He is back to his all-star form that he was in 2020 and 2019. So I, as a Raptors fan, am very happy to see him on this list. I think he deserves it. And then Carmelo Anthony. Why? No. And LeBron James has taken over first place over Steph Curry. So I think there's a huge glaring issue with this voting, because why? It just seems pointless, and I don't understand. Like, just stop. Just don't give fans voting, please. I don't want to see it. Like, I immediately loses all credibility when I'm looking at this list and seeing all these Carmelo Anthony over Karl Anthony Towns. Like, no, thank you. I just kind of wanted to end my podcast on that. And this is a shorter episode of because I don't really have too much to talk about outside of the football. It's going to be exciting to see these week's matchups, and I'll be back next week to cover a bit more with the NFL as the playoffs continue. And I'm going to continue to talk about basketball because my team is out now, so I can fully talk about the Raptors a bit more. So that about wraps it up for this guy's episode. If you did enjoy it, you can hit that like button and subscribe for more. Other than that, I've been Jake. Thank you for watching TST.